Thank you again for joining us also at the panel section of the energy poverty session of today's conference. We had also questions from the online audience, so let me start with that. And the first question is to you. And the question was, how efficient was the container one-stop shop model?
Yeah. Well, super good question and really timely. It's interesting because when we started the project, we thought, okay, this is one of the missing pieces of the puzzle to connect like public funding to vulnerable houses. So probably we'll have thousands of people each day having a queue on the container. That's not true. Because we also see the reflections of the lack of knowledge on energy, on funding. So the most vulnerable consumers do not know that the national funding and support exist, and even if that they can be supported, in fact. So I think with this pilot, and was one of the first ones really on the ground trying to connect with citizens, we are trying to explore those limitations. So it's like, okay, we have the knowledge, we can support citizens applying for funding, that's one of the things we do. We also support them on identifying best suppliers for their energy bills. We go for their homes and do like quick energy checks in their homes. So all of this is things that they didn't know they could be helped. So we are on that progress. One thing that we also noticed, and we have supported hundreds of citizens, not the problem, the thousands I thought we would help during this year and a half running. But the thing we also understood was, okay, we need to deeper go beyond the municipal level. So we are talking about the role of municipalities, which is super relevant compared to what was previously on different types of policy on only the national level, but we need to go even beyond that. So to local associations, to local support centers, education, sports facility that can really connect and support identification, support this on-the-ground action. And this is really relevant. It's not only connecting with municipalities, but well beyond that, trying to be closer and closer to the people, for them to know about this kind of projects, how can they be supported, and what exactly exists for them to improve their lives, I would say.
Thank you so much for the concise answer. And now I would like to turn to Jakub. While I was listening to your presentation, there was one question. There were many, many questions that popped into my head, but one general question, which would be, you mentioned lots of indicators, lots of ways to implement into policy decisions, but what about the openness in your country and in general to actually apply these measures, to apply these strategies and methodologies?
Poland, I think, was open to some extent because we have a national indicator, so the one that we did. Maybe Poland wasn't open. Maybe the European Commission forced Poland to be open because European Commission paid us to create those indicators, to evaluate them, and to create a definition. That is very close to the definition that Energy Poverty Advisory Hub is also proposing. So I wouldn't say maybe open is not the right word, but they did it. So we have a national definition. We have the indicators that that we proposed, and we have a target to reduce energy poverty that was set up by someone in some ministry, because nobody knows why and how how they did it, but still it's there. So, yeah.
Yes, of course.
Just an add-on here. So I agree, and I see that the European Commission, of course, that's the role of it, to push member states to progress on topics they might not like or might not be really a priority. And I've seen this as well in Portugal. So we have a draft version of the National Energy Poverty Strategy because we didn't comply with the National Energy and Climate Plan, so we needed to have an annex support document. And also because that's a good point also for municipalities, and you have seen this on my presentation, the role of energy, climate change, mitigation, supporting energy poverty. Because sometimes people talk about energy poverty as a social perspective only, and I'm an environmental engineer working on energy in buildings for a long time, and I think that promoting that avenue of climate change mitigation and adaptation, we're also supporting energy poverty on a different pattern, different ministers, so I think it's a good and important way to tackle it. Thank you.
Just sorry, one more comment also on that. We can see it in the social climate fund that some of us were already discussing, that there is someone missing, at least in Poland, because Poland gets the most allocation. It's going to be 13 billion euros to spend, and the issue is that the Ministry of Environment, that's responsible for the tax, the emission trading system, and the ministry responsible for allocating the social climate fund, they do not cooperate. They do not see each other. They don't know each other. And this was the issue that we observed in the case of energy poverty. And this was the role of the Commission. So the Commission made them meet. They were like, I don't know how we call it. They were just making appointments and calling them, okay, this is the place, be there at this time, and you are going to discuss the issues of energy poverty, because nobody said that, okay, this is my, let's say, my goal to reduce it. So the Commission made them do it. So we hope they are going to repeat this strategy in the case of ETS2 and Social Climate Fund. Thank you.
I think you really well pointed out the question and the problem of the fragmentation of the governmental systems. I think that's the general thing, not really country-specific, in terms of sustainable development as a whole and also its different segments. And also, it was very well pointed out in the previous comment that we need to address from different angles the same topics, because that's how we will get well, I wouldn't say the perfect answers, because that's non-existent, but let's just say that maybe the closest to the best. And now I would like to turn to you, Nóra, and my question would be, really shortly in your presentation, you mentioned that, well, there is a really nice version of how it should work and what you do, how it looks like in theory, and then what happens when you actually go there and try to see that in practice. And you also mentioned how difficult it is to find families who actually can tick all the boxes and check boxes when it comes to an application. So my question would be twofold. On the one hand, how can you, or what's your methodology in finding them, and how can you convince them that they need to take this or as an opportunity? Are they open? And also the other side of this coin maybe is that are they actually looking for these kind of opportunities and just are blocked from finding it in a way because it's not that easy to find, or are they just unaware of the help that they can be given?
Well, I mean, they are very open in the sense that they are very aware that they need renovations, and a lot of times we find that, of course, these households already put so much, money and effort into maintaining these houses because they are so fragile. They might not have the perfect skills or knowledge, but it takes a lot of work to keep them habitable because they are really in bad conditions. So of course they know that they need more money, more everything. But our problem is really that we are trying to use the state subsidy, which is unfortunately, I would say, quite carefully designed to exclude these people. So it's very, very few households that they can. I mean, for example, things like there is a minimum square meter of area for a house for a certain number of people. And here, we're talking with families at least with 3 or 4 children. And if the house is too small, they cannot apply. If they had any break in employment over the past 1 or 2 years, then again they cannot apply. So it's quite hard to find them.
Yeah, actually, my question, at least partly, was about their openness in terms of knowing these criteria and how hard it is to comply with them. So not them wanting to get help. Of course, they are aware, but are they skeptical about the system functioning?
You mean our system or
no,
the
state subsidy system?
I mean, of course, they have probably a lot of disappointments, a lot of troubles, and are quite used to not having access to help. And sometimes we've seen it with some other of our projects where, for example, we come with free materials or free funding for renovations. A lot of households can be skeptical, like, are you really want to give me something for free? What's going to happen here? So sometimes there is some convincing to do. But as I said, the local partners are very, very crucial. So here our colleague, she's from the area, and she knows, and then once you have one family and the second one, then the third one will be easier.
Of course.
And so on.
Good news spreads quite quickly. Yeah. Thank you.
Can I comment?
Of course.
Sorry. Yeah, giving also my experience from what I've seen in Portugal with similar kind of funding is that people do not know what to do. Not even only the energy poor. So maybe if I ask you all in this room, what is your top priority or most impactful measure in your home? You're probably not sure. A heat pump or 5 windows? What should I go first? And this is an issue that we need more and more energy literacy and knowledge about this, and platforms, the ones I've shown, for example, or other things that can support citizens doing these choices. And I've seen, and in Portugal, I have an energy voucher scheme that people get for the energy poor. They get 1,300 euros of a voucher. They can then apply on different things. And people just want to spend it. Like, I don't care what's available. It's a window or it's a heat pump. Fine, heat pump. Mm-hmm. So that's difficult. And we think we are not spending the money as the best we can. Because the governments itself only want to report to the commission saying, sure, we spent the 100 millions we got. Exactly how? A couple of macro indicators, energy saving, CO2, a bit complex methodologies, and then fine. But then you go on the ground and people change one window. What exactly one window makes in a house? It's better than nothing, but not the best maybe we can do. And it's a trade-off between the discussion of, and this is I think maybe some of you have thought about this. Is best to help 20 families deep energy renovations or 200 houses light renovations? That's why multiple approaches of policy and funding are also useful for targeting and then for supporting, because then we can help different types of families in different ways.
Thank you. And then before I open one question to all of you, let me turn to you, Béla, and ask, you coming from the academia sector and as you've shown with all the titles you hold, how you see the cooperation and the possibility of cooperation between the different sectors in terms of tackling energy poverty? How can academia, the business sector, civil society, and also policymakers actually help together? What's the platform in which they can collaborate and cooperate?
Goodness. Phew. Here in Hungary.
Or generally.
just because I don't really see any kind of platform here in Hungary.
Maybe it's time to create one.
Yes, that would be nice. And maybe this event is the first step. But really, I don't know. I know just some nice experiences or examples. For example, about Denmark, just because I have relatively long experience in that northern European part. But to tell you the truth, I don't have any good idea about João. Definitely
yeah, I can see that. Now we'll have another viewpoint.
Maybe what in some countries we have or starting to have is the energy poverty observatories, like local or national observatories, because they can be the one place that we can get NGOs, universities, research centers, at least for politicians to have one to-go place to ask for, if they want, of course, to ask for suggestions. So there are only a few at the national level in Europe. There is one in France. In fact, there are 2 in Italy, and not more than that. I know that in Portugal we want to start building that. The government wants to create this connection of different stakeholders. So probably that's the place to be and connect different agents.
Yeah, as you say, I think on the one hand you need to, you need to convince them that they want this kind of advice, yeah, and then it's also obviously necessary to have them the expertise to also give them the piece of advice that they seek. And now, before we open the floor for questions, let me just ask a question from all of you sitting here with me in the panel. Namely that we also mentioned just briefly that generally energy poverty almost all the time is looked at as a social question. My question would be, because in your presentations respectively, you mentioned the different aspects, how the different stakeholder groups approach this issue, what are the solutions, methodologies. And obviously with you, Nóra, you mentioned the affected ones, how they react and what's their take on it. But what about generally the society? Are they aware of the fact that energy poverty is an existing thing?
I can start quickly. I think, and from the history of researching and working on this for a couple of years already, it's building the knowledge. Let's say people knew, at least in Portugal, I can tell you, people knew they were not comfortable in their homes. It's energy poverty, I don't know the concept in theory, if the citizen didn't know, but they were not comfortable during the winter, during the summer, with problems of energy efficiency. So Portugal is the second European country with most houses with structural problems of humidity and mold. So 25%, a quarter of our homes have this problem. So people knew about it. People know about the problems of using firewood, as explained before, also here. But now, more and more, they are connecting with this name of energy poverty. I think this is something, because of the media, because of different projects and research work of different entities, in Portugal at least, people are growing to know about this itself.
Well, that's a good sign, maybe.
In Poland, it depends who you ask, because if you ask someone who is, let's say, representing the civil society or the social organizations, we say that energy poverty, it's important, it's recognized. We even had a citizen assembly about energy poverty in Poland, so it's well recognized. The issue in Poland is that if you ask, let's say, supporters of government, they will also say that energy poverty is important, but they are going to speak about different energy poverty because they think that European Commission and ambitious climate policy goals are making Polish people energy poor, which is obviously the other way around. This is the lack of transition, the fact that we are depending on coal, the fact that we are using too much fossil fuels, the fact that we in Poland, that used to be a, let's say, country of mild climate, we get more and more extreme heat and extreme cold. So the lack of ambitious climate policy is making us energy poor. So the term is well recognized. I get, I have an alert on the media, and usually I get two information. One is saying, okay, all people in Poland are energy poor because we are not doing enough. And the other one is saying that we are energy poor because we are doing too much, because European Commission is forcing us. The issue in our part of Europe, I think it's not recognition of the term, but it's about how we see it and how we understand it. So we should promote this other understanding of this topic, and I think Social Climate Fund is very important for us. This is what we are trying to do with our research, is to convince people that we have to avoid giving politicians, let's say, free, or speaking them freely about this topic of ETS2, about more and more climate ambitions, because if we do that, they are going to use it in order to promote this polarization of the society, in order to get re-elected, in order to, let's say, take us from European Union. So it's very dangerous, and even though we still have some time, because it's going to be implemented in 2027 ETS and in 2025 the Social Climate Fund, we should start right now, because we saw it with energy poverty, that this term was recognized too late, and we already started climate policies, and now every time a representative of Polish government comes to Brussels, they say we cannot do anything because if we do it, everybody in Poland is going to be energy poor.
Thank you for the detailed answer.
Yeah, so I think, of course, it is a social phenomena because it's connected to poverty, and I think a lot of people are aware that for people who are poor, it's a difficulty to heat their homes and things like that, and it's connected, and I think we have to be almost careful with not, making it over too much of a buzzword almost. When I was trying to show that you have this danger of going, okay, energy poverty, and you might forget the more basic problems of poverty. Like I was saying, we still have people without access to much more basic things. So I think it's more than anything, it's a policy area. So whether the public recognizes this term or not is not so important. We need solidarity, and we need the public to care about people in poverty and to support policies like this. What's the exact term is less important, or we have to be careful with these terms.
I would like to choose one special segment of the Hungarian population, the decision makers. According to their opinion, in Hungary we don't have energy poverty. I think it explains a lot.